Today I'm going to talk about a subject that a lot of people feel cringy about. It makes them feel uncomfortable. I don't know why, but it does. It's almost like a stigma. And then the second one is a stigma because I brought it up on this channel before. So the first one I want to talk about is death. And I'm putting on my earrings because I have to really go out. So this video I'm hoping is not very long because I have to eat lunch and I have to go. But death is inevitable. Like, we're all going to die. We know this. It's not a big secret. We're all going to die. So why we don't want to talk about it is beyond my comprehension. And I learned the hard way that death is something that we have to bring to the table. Death is something that we have to talk to our children about. It is very, very important. And it became front and center for me when my father suffered a brain hemorrhage. I was 33 years old. My father suffered from a spontaneous brain hemorrhage, but that's not what resulted in his death. 2.5 years after his brain hemorrhage, my father was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And through that process, I became power of attorney when he had his brain hemorrhage. And I became power of attorney because what I didn't realize was that they had a very traditional type of lifestyle at home where my father handled all the finances, right? The car, the house, all of that. And my mother did everything else. A traditional Latina home. And I knew immediately when I was trying to help my mother figure things out because my father was intubated. He was in the brain injury unit at a specialty hospital and he was in critical care, that I was then given the responsibility to figure things out on the home front. And I would ask my mother questions and she knew nothing. She knew nothing about bank accounts. She knew nothing about who was the mortgage lender. She didn't know who the car loan was with. She had even forgotten where they bought the car. Like, it was so complicated and so layered on top of us dealing literally with a life and death situation when it came to my father. And I felt my emotions rising, not just because of what was happening to my father, but the frustration that I felt that my mother didn't have any information. And at first I thought it was shock. At first I thought maybe it's her brain blocking her from this because of everything that's happening to my father. No, she really did not know. She really had no involvement. And it wasn't because my father didn't want her to, it's because she chose not to. This I also learned. But anyway, so fast forward, my father died of colon cancer and we didn't have to do a lot of work by that point because I was already power of attorney of both their health and their estate. Now, when I say estate, I don't mean a mansion. Estate means your asset where you live. So if you own a home, that is your estate. So I became power of attorney of both, not by my choice, by their delegation. So, that experience taught me a lot. It taught me a lot in that we need to really talk about death, not just the emotional and the physical departure of that person no longer being in your life, but death and all of the ripple consequences that come with that. And I remember struggling trying to be there for my father and be the advocate for his health while also managing my home and their home from a financial perspective. That was a huge burden. Nothing that I would regret. And I'm not saying this out loud because I did it in vain or I regret it. I will never change any of that. But I'm talking about it from the lens of what the burden that it put on me as a child, right? And so I knew right then and there that I did not want to impose that on my own children. So from that point on, my husband and I, we have been very open and transparent with our children. We have a living will. We have a living trust. We have everything fixed at the funeral home of what our wishes are. Our kids know what we want. They know what to do with the things in the house. We have consciously, not just with the move from our first house into this one 20 years ago, but every 3 or 4 months, I tackle a certain area of my home because I'm trying to minimize the clutter. I'm trying to reduce the clutter because I don't want my children going through this. And it's important for me, and it should be important for you. When we talk about decluttering, we are decluttering not just for our own mental space and mental health, but also for the burden that is going to be put on our children when we depart this earth. And that is very important to me. I would not do to my children what I felt. I don't want that for them. And you've heard me say on this channel that I don't want to be a health burden on my children. And I also don't want to be a financial burden on my children. And that happens with taking care of everything with the home, sharing with them our, mortgage account, how to sign in, right? All of our bills, what's been paid off, what do we have pending, how much of it is pending. Whenever we get a new car or anything that changes in our financial status, our kids know. They know how to go into the accounts. We've put them as beneficiaries. We have included them and we have provided medical releases to them. We have provided financial releases. All of that has already been filled out. If you guys want a video on that in specific, like what you can do to prepare your children for your departure, for your death, I can put something together for that because I think it's important. That's not the message of my video, but I just thought about that. And if you guys want that as a video, I'll be more than happy to put that together. So my kids feel very confident that they don't have to make any decisions. They have to make 0 decisions for us when we die, either individually or whatever. Like they know exactly where to go to get the documents, what to do. Everything is up to date. I update it every 6 months and they have clear instructions on how to access every single one of our accounts and handle everything, not just medically, but also for the home. Anyhow, so death is also something that we're dealing with this week because this week alone, we are attending 2 funerals. One was yesterday and one is this Saturday. These are 2 women and they are 40 years apart in age, almost 40 years apart in age. But that's not the purpose of me bringing that up. I'm bringing it up because regardless of their age, I want to share that their symptoms were almost identical. Their causes of death, I'm not a medical professional, so please check in with your medical professional, right? This is just for educational purposes. But I have to put out that disclaimer. But their symptoms were almost identical. And what I learned at the funeral for the 83-year-old, there was an 83-year-old that passed away and a 58-year-old. The 83-year-old that passed away, when I talked to their daughters, they were sharing stories about how much she had been suffering the last 30 years, 30 years of her life. But she said, not suffering, she was just going through things that are normal at this age. Because I said, did she have any health issues? Did she have any health conditions? Her daughter specifically said this, and I quote, "No, nothing major, nothing that is not known for her age. She was suffering from the things that everybody suffers from at her age. Type 2 diabetes, she had high cholesterol, she had high blood pressure, she had arthritis, but all of that is normal. She was 83 years old. That's all normal for them." And the hairs on the back of my neck stood up again because I thought, wow, we have been so conditioned to believe that when you are a certain age, all of these ailments are normal. All of these issues and health concerns are normal. So then we have the 58-year-old. She's the mother to our godson, and she was a very bubbly, happy, beautiful individual. She suffered from type 2 diabetes. Her type 2 diabetes literally crippled her. And I mean that in the most physical way. This woman had multiple back surgeries due to arthritis and inflammation. She had multiple knee surgeries. She had a ton of medication that she was on. She had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high triglycerides, type 2 diabetes, arthritis, right? She had all of the same symptoms that the 83-year-old, except their ages were very different. Now, the only other difference between the two, not just the age, was the 58-year-old, we talked a lot about her health. And not because I imposed, but because she was seeking information from me. She wanted to know, she wanted some, information on what she can eat, what type of exercises she can do, what are the things that she can do to improve her health. The problem was she never executed on them. And I know that willpower is a word that we use a lot, and it's almost lost its significance because people think that I have a lot of willpower, that I have a lot of motivation. I don't have either one. What I do have is this strong why. And my why is that I don't want to be a health or a financial burden on my children. I don't want to be a financial burden because of what I suffered and what I went through and what I experienced and learned through the death of my father. But I also don't want to be a health burden because of the ailments and the death of other family members in our family. I don't want to put that on my children. And I always live by the motto, when you know better, you do better, right? Maya Angelou told us, when you know better, you do better. And we must get to a place where we do better. And this is part of my TED Talk today, is we need, as women, we need to stop using this idea and this excuse that we have been programmed to believe that we are in this phase of our lives of postmenopause. We're just getting older. These are normal things. Now, let me separate that. Yes, they're normal because we have lost estrogen. Estrogen receptors are all over our bodies from in utero up until we no longer have our periods. So imagine we go 50 plus years, and the ages can range when you go through postmenopause. We have 40, 50, 60 plus years of having estrogen in our bodies, and literally overnight it goes away. Estrogen is our little, balancer. Estrogen is our superpower. Estrogen is what kept everything in balance. So when we start to diminish and we started to lose estrogen during perimenopause, we noticed big differences. We noticed, our bellies getting a little bit bigger out of nowhere. We noticed an increase in weight. The brain fog started to really creep in. The night sweats, the hot flashes, right? We started to feel all of these symptoms in perimenopause. And then all of a sudden, our period stops. That is menopause. It's a pause in our menstruation. That is only one day. Again, speak to your medical professionals. I'm not a medical professional. This is just for educational purposes. And this information is out there so you can research it yourself. But menopause is the day that we realize that we no longer have had our periods for 12 consecutive months. That is our menopause. That is only one day. So we have two phases of it. We have perimenopause, right? We're still getting our periods. Our periods stop. And then we are in post-menopause. So we are not in menopause. We are in either peri or post, okay? If you don't believe me, I encourage you to look up Tamsin Fidel, Dr. Mary Claire Haver, Dr. Kelly Casperson. There are a ton of doctors out there that are echoing and educating women on this platform regarding peri and postmenopause. But semantics. Okay, so in postmenopause, we no longer produce estrogen. And what does that do? That elevates our risk for heart disease. That elevates our risk for high cholesterol, high triglycerides, comorbidities as a result of losing that one superpower element in our lives, which is estrogen. It is not a coincidence that women at our age, especially Gen Xers and older, that we are dying at rapid rates from cardiovascular disease and from heart attacks. That includes cardiovascular disease, includes strokes. And the 58-year-old friend of ours died of a stroke. That's also a comorbidity related to type 2 diabetes, okay? And I have a little fun fact for you. Type 2 diabetes is completely curable and preventable. It is. It is not something that we have to live with for the rest of our lives. Type 2 diabetes is very different than type 1. I'm not talking about people that have type 1. Please don't come at me. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about type 2 diabetes. I don't care how old you are. It is preventable and it is curable with major life changes. That includes nutrition and exercise. It is a known fact. It's a known scientific fact. So again, we're not going to get into all of the, little nitty. We're not going into the rabbit hole, okay? I want to stay very surface level on this. My message for you today is we need to change how we look at ourselves in postmenopause. We need to change how we talk about ourselves in postmenopause. We need to change how we are allowing ourselves to continue the excuse and using the rationale that we're older. This is what happens when you get old. This is what happens, when you're in your 50s or your 60s. All these things start to happen. You start talking about medications. You start talking about all of your health ailments. Listen, I'm 56. I don't want to talk about those things. I don't talk about those things. I am so thankful because I have put in the work for the last 8 years. I am on 0 medications I don't suffer from cholesterol. I don't suffer from triglycerides. I don't suffer from blood pressure issues. I have low blood pressure actually, but I don't have those issues or ailments. And this is because I have put in the work. I have put in 8 years of work to focus on my health and my nutrition, and you can do the same. So what I'm here to encourage you is, let's change our mindset. Let's change how we see ourselves. Let's change how we talk about ourselves, because we can help each other. Again, HRT is your friend. Again, talk to your health professional. But I don't want to discourage us. I don't want us to discourage each other from being on HRT, because it is a lifesaver, all right? And I want us to look at this with the glass half full. I'm not pushing HRT on you, but it is something that I would like for you to contemplate. If you want me to do a deeper dive video, it's something that I'm considering, to do a really deep dive on post-menopause and what happens to our body, right? I'm calling it like post-menopause 101. So if that's something that you're interested in, can you please comment down below? Yes, please. And I will start to create that video. It will be a long form video, probably about 45 minutes, because there's a lot of information to cover. But it would be my pleasure to do so, because this is a subject that I'm extremely passionate about. I want us to educate ourselves. I want us to go into our doctor's appointments ready and fully armored. I want us to think positive, and I want us to speak life into ourselves, right? Death doesn't have to be this horrible, long, drawn out thing for us. I'm not saying I'm not thinking about death, but I am doing all the things today so that I am not a health burden, not just to myself, but to my children. I want to be able to walk up the stairs without heavily breathing. I want to be able to lift heavy when I get medical clearance after we clear out this coughing up blood situation that came back. I want to be able to, take long walks and play around with my grandchildren, get up from the floor with no assistance. All these things, they're important to me. And you need to put in the work to get there. And I know that you can. I believe in you. I know that you can. So if you have any other ideas for videos around this topic, please list them below. Please share them with me and with the community. I do read your comments, and I would love to hear from you on what you would like for me to cover in terms of postmenopause, women's health, right? All of that is very important. That is all that I wanted to share with you here today. Death doesn't have to be cringy. It can be realistic, and you can start putting in the work. And we can all live this next third of our lives in abundance and in good health, good mind, and good spirit. I know this because I am living it. And so, that is all that I wanted to share with you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. If you are new, welcome. And if you're returning, welcome back. And I am feeling better. My spirits are high. I still haven't gotten the approval for my CT scan. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can watch that video from last week. But I'm still remaining hopeful. But I need to run out. I have to go pick up a birthday gift for my husband. And we are going to really live life to the fullest. Yes, we are. I want you to keep repeating that to yourself. Anyhow, that is all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. And until the next one, adios.